Good morning, everybody. Sunday here, and I hope all is well for all of you, wherever Sunday morning finds you on the planet Earth. I hope life is good in your corner. All right, beautiful here. We're back to summer weather here, even though it's November. I can't explain the weather, it's not my job. All right, we're going to talk today about the difference between here we go, the alto sax, and the difference between the tenor sax, right? We'll just go over that just a little bit. But first, I want to talk to you about lessons, private lessons via Zoom. Your YouTube discount code for this month is DGM11. And what we're doing is an hour, all right? I've set it up so that I can do an hour with you on Zoom. And I like to talk to each of the people who have signed up. We've talked a little bit before we get into the lesson to find out what exactly it is that you want to work on. And then I come up with a lesson plan and we do that for the hour. So it's real specific, not a shotgun, scattergun approach. We just do a specific, what do you need to work on? What's not working for you? How can I help you? If I can help you. And you know, I'm not always able to do that, especially for beginners, absolute stone beginners. Just got the sax, just cracked it out of that case, have no idea where to put the mouthpiece. You know, that doesn't work on Zoom. You need a person. You need to find a person that you can sit down with and study with, who can guide you through the steps, take a real close look at how you're breathing, your embouchure, all that business. All right. So, sorry, can't help beginners, but your intermediate to advanced level players, adult learners, or kids, basically, you know, middle school, whatever, I can help you, okay? So DGM-11 is your discount code for the remainder of this month, all right? Alto sax versus tenor sax. Well, why should there be a versus? I mean, if you want to play both, why not? If you have the resources and you have a couple of them, why not? I have an alto sax here, and I use it for teaching. This is a Con 6M. It was made in 1946. According to the serial number on the back. Beautiful horn. This is an Olds tenor sax, an Olds tenor sax. The serial number is 5-digit serial number. They don't have records going back that far, so the sax tech that helps me with my horns thinks maybe somewhere in the 19th. So a couple of horns here that are possibly in their 70s, you know, 80s. They're old ladies, all right? The alto sax versus the tenor sax. Now, I'm doing this session today because many of you have written in and you don't actually have a sax. And you're thinking about getting started and wondering which one would you like, all right? The first place to start is with your ears. Oh, those dogs. I'm sorry about that. They're having a morning. The first place to start is with your ears so that you can hear dogs barking. What do you like to listen to? What sax player do you enjoy the most? What do you like? Do you listen to tenor sax players? Do you listen to alto sax players? Which saxophone sound appeals to you the most, all right? That's the thread to follow, perhaps. The alto sax being the smaller of the two instruments by, you know, I don't know, my back far enough so that you can see the difference here? Yeah, you get a visual on there, right? The alto sax is the one that we generally find for your 4th, 5th, 6th graders who are starting out in school band class, right? Because the hands, right? The hands aren't as big at that age, and they can hold this saxophone. Now, it is possibly the hardest of the two to make sound good. The alto sax has a couple of issues. One is the neck. Look at that neck. That's about a right angle, and there is no resistance. This baby wants air, and it's also in a much higher voice. And sometimes some of us find it more difficult to make that high voice sound sweet and mellow and beautiful. Okay. You've got a smaller mouthpiece here. Less of this is going in your mouth. Let's take a look at the tenor sax mouthpiece by comparison. Got a much bigger mouthpiece there, all right, compared to this little guy right here. There's a different approach to the embouchure for the tenor sax. There's a different approach to the embouchure for the alto sax. There's a different approach to air, the air that you put into the tenor sax. There's a different approach to the air that you put into the alto sax, all right? Those of you who have one of each, you understand what I'm saying, right? There are significant differences. Then the voice is different as well. The alto sax voice, right, is much higher than the tenor sax voice. Let me play a little bit of alto sax here. I'll play what would be a D major scale on an alto sax. By the way, one saxophone is all saxophones. So when I play a D is a D is a D is a D on all the saxophones, all 6 down, right? The keys are different, right? These are transposing instruments, and I'll get back to that, right? So I'll play what would be a D on the alto sax. All right, that would be a D major scale as played on the alto sax. Not concert pitch, that's in the key of, the alto sax is in the key of E flat, Edward flat, right? And I'll explain that in just a minute, although it's not critical to our conversation today. Same fingering, D. I'll play a D as voiced on the tenor sax here. You'll hear the difference. Big, deeper voice, isn't it? Pretty, isn't it? All right? So it comes down to a bit of a preference choice, right? Preference call. You listen to Gerald Albright and Dave Koz, David Sanborn, Charlie Parker, any of those, right? Alto sax, tenor sax, John Coltrane, Kirk Whalum. Beautiful voices on the tenor sax, Joshua Redman. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So that would be a place to start. Second, if you have the resources and a music store near you, I would sincerely suggest that you go there. COVID has lifted, and those restrictions changed the way that music instruments were tested and bought and returned and all that business, but we're done with that now. And you can go in and try things out, all right? So if you've got a real good music store that's well stocked, definitely take some time on a Saturday afternoon and drop in. And you're going to buy a couple of reeds because, you got to take those with you. But try one of each and play them and see what you like. If you don't have a music store because you're somewhere deep in the Amazon rainforest or Antarctica, you're going to have a saxophone delivered to you. Always purchase from people that have a return policy, all right? Would I buy new versus vintage? Yeah, I would. Says the guy that has 2 vintage horns, 2 70, 80-year-old horns here. Why? Because these can't be replaced, all right? If I'm out on the road with my awesome new Bossa Nova band, and we're playing dates, and let's just say the horns, by whatever mishap, fall off the tour bus and roll under the wheels, and they get squashed, I can't replace them. However, if I have any of the, the major brand names, and I'm not going to go through this, but just your basic brand name horns, off the shelf, sure, I can have one shipped to me no matter where I am immediately, and it'll be the same as the one I had that I was playing before. These guys are irreplaceable. Why do I keep playing them? Because they're beautiful, and I like them, but if I were to replace or go shopping for horns, I would definitely look at some, there's some real good stuff out there. There's virtually no reason to buy a vintage horn unless you want a vintage horn, all right? The new horns are awesome. Price difference, all right? That can be a deciding factor as well. Let's talk about JeanPaulUSA.com. I am not affiliated to them, but many of my students have bought their horns, so I'm familiar with their pricing structure. And I think their alto sax, their student alto sax is, I think $600 out the door, something like that. Their tenor sax, a little bit more than that, about $1,000 out the door. So that's going to be the price break. Your alto sax and your tenor sax, there's a significant price jump to get a tenor sax. And they're usually, like I said, in the ballpark of just around double the price of an alto sax. That's not a rule of thumb to hang on to, but I'm making vague comparisons here today. Surely you can find alto saxes that are $7,000, and you can find tenor saxes that are, brand new or $1,200. Apples to apples, you got to make those comparisons. So that's what I'm talking about today, and that's why I picked that one company, JeanPaulUSA.com. They're out of Florida. Horns are assembled in somewhere in Asia. I'm going to sneeze. We're having, oh my God, there's absolutely no humidity. Hang on. No, I blocked this sneeze. All right. Alto sax is in the key of E flat, Edward flat. That makes us a minor third below concert pitch. Have your teacher explain what a minor third is and how that relates to concert pitch. Tenor sax is in the key of B flat, boy flat. We're off a whole step above concert pitch. Again, have your teacher explain what that means to you. All right, you got a couple of things going on here. Now you've got bigger flappers. All right, let's think about that. Look at the size of these keys down here. All right, the bottom of the horn. All right, it takes a little more time and torque. If you're thinking about getting into your 16th note ripper runs, the alto sax might be a little bit faster for you. Look, very small keys here. Look at these little guys here. And quite often when I move from the tenor sax to the alto sax, I'm greased lightning, right? At any rate, that's not the consideration. The consideration is can you make tone on this that sounds good to you? Now, when we get into a band situation, which you're going to get into, okay, you're not getting a saxophone just to sit in your room and play by yourself. You're eventually going to start playing with people. There are a couple of differences. These horns occupy different places on the scale of music. This having that super high voice is very, very, very present, right? Really present. I mean, the minute you launch into your alto saxophone solo, it's heard, right? Because it's up there. The tenor saxophone, though, you can schnookle around in the mid-range down there with the bass. Well, not that low quite, but in the same neighborhood as piano, guitar, bass. And you can spend a lot of time there, kind of just lurking and figuring out what you're going to do before you jump up into the stratosphere and start playing the higher notes, which will not be as high as the alto sax unless you master your altissimo range. That's not what this lesson is about. Why, this is just a comparison. That's just a comparison. But what I'm saying is the range allows, and I find it allows, me the luxury of it gives me a lot of room, a lot of latitude, just to think a little bit, move around a little bit. The alto sax doesn't do that. The minute I start playing an alto sax solo, it cuts, right? And tenor sax allows me far more latitude, a bigger range of ideas. The tenor sax is in more my human voice range than the alto sax as well. Another thing that happens is when we get up in the top range of the alto sax, the palm keys right up here, ooh, yeah. And I've heard it said that you can tell a tenor sax player converted to alto sax because they're on the palm keys all the time. Well, those things are really, really high. If you're a tenor sax player and you're playing in a band, you want to be on the palm keys because those are our highest notes. You want to have good range, good flexion, good ability to move around up in the top range of this horn so that you can cut through the band, right? So that's another consideration as you get out and you start to play with other people. Intonation could be a challenge. As you get up into the top range of the alto sax. Intonation is sometimes more forgiving on a tenor sax. But again, we're talking apples to apples. You bought a good, relatively good horn off the shelf. It's brand new and you've got it set up properly for you. Okay? So if you have any more questions about alto versus tenor, I'm happy to answer your emails or put a comment in below. If this helped you, hit that love button and subscribe. It apparently it helps me to build the channel. And again, your Zoom lesson session discount code this month is DGM-11 for a Zoom session. And thanks to all of those of you who have taken advantage of the special I'm offering to the YouTube community, the YouTube community that you created. I'm grateful to meet each of you and to work with you. And I look forward to meeting many more of you. So there you go. Alto versus tenor. Is one better than the other? Nah. No, they're cool. They're both really, really cool. They just occupy different places in music. So once again, let's go back to the beginning. If you don't know where to go with an alto or a tenor, use your ears. Who are you listening to? What appeals to you? What do you like? All right. And then go to a music store if you can and try some out. If you can't do that and you have to actually purchase once again and get some drop shipment, make sure it's with a vendor that will allow you to return it. You can try it out, play it. If you hate it, you can send it back, right? And try something else. All right. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for being here. Next week, I have a list of things, of qualities that a musician should embody. I got it from somebody. Well, I'll mention all this next week, but I'd love to go over that with you. So I'll read down that list and we'll talk a little bit about that. And that'll be for next week. All right. All right. So until then, play hard, have fun, keep in touch, do good work. See you again.